In this video, I'm going to reveal 7 Swiss banking secrets that prove that Switzerland is still one of the best banking hubs on the planet. These are the small nuances that everyone else overlooks that can take your Swiss bank account and turn it into a money-making machine. From account opening secrets to negotiating secrets, deposit amounts, and how to make your banker even get on a plane and fly to you. Now, in case you're wondering who I am and how I got these secrets, my name is Chris and I'm the head of banking relationships at GlobalBanks. We help investors and entrepreneurs navigate cross-border banking and financial services. Not surprisingly, this includes establishing private banking and wealth management relationships with top banks all around the world, including in Switzerland. And this video is all about private banking in Switzerland, more specifically Swiss private banking secrets. Though I will say, this is just the tip of the iceberg. In an industry that is synonymous with wealth, privacy, and exclusivity, you should expect there to be many more secrets left to uncover. And I'm going to be sharing the most profitable private banking secrets, breaking down how the wealthy use private banks, the specific products and services that they leverage, and who should and shouldn't use private banking in a coming video. So if you're interested in unlocking any of these private banking benefits for yourself, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you get alerted when we post that video. All right, so let's talk Switzerland. You probably already know that Swiss private banks, they are among the best in the world and some of the oldest. Swiss banking, it's actually over 300 years old, dating back to the mid-1700s, but this is not a history lesson, and the only historical date that you should be aware of is February 2nd, 1934. That was the day that the Swiss Federal Assembly passed the Swiss Banking Secrecy Act, making Switzerland home to the most strict and all-encompassing banking secrecy laws in the world. Which brings us to secret number 1, which is that secrecy is dead, but only if you're poor. Hear me out. Yes, banking secrecy was dramatically reshaped by the introduction of the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, or what we normally call FATCA, not to mention the introduction of the Common Reporting Standards and Automatic Exchange of Information, CRS and AEOI, by the OECD. And just to be clear, Switzerland, they are a signatory to FATCA, CRS, and AEOI, complying with all international information sharing requests. But that doesn't mean that secrecy is dead, at least not if you have enough money. It just means it's a lot more expensive, and whether through the use of trusts, foundations, or similar structures, assets can be contributed, and if, this is a big if, the beneficiaries have residency in supportive jurisdictions, those accounts and the related assets effectively disappear. Now, it's not cheap to access this level of secrecy, but it is effective. Talking about cheap, let's discuss secret number 2. Now, this might upset a few Swiss bankers, but I think they're gonna get over it. Secret number 2 here is that you don't need a lot of money to actually bank in Switzerland. Yes, it's still private banking, so you will need to make a qualifying deposit, but the point that I'm trying to make is that you don't need millions of dollars to open Swiss private bank accounts. You can actually open with real traditional private banks in Switzerland, some of the oldest and even most reputable, with only a few $100,000. Though in reality, most Swiss private banks, they don't even have a firm deposit requirement. And that's because everything in Swiss private banking is negotiable, and it's totally dependent on the relationship that you establish with the bank. I've even had a managing director at one of the oldest and most respected Swiss private banks tell me that he'd be happy to open accounts with as little as $100,000 if it's the right client, which translates into a client that understands the long-term nature of Swiss private banking and is focused on growing the relationship balance over time. So basically, you need to have a plan to increase your deposit in the future, which shouldn't be hard if you use Swiss banks correctly. And that brings us to secret number 3, which is that Swiss banks, they will make you rich. Now, I know that the common narrative around Swiss banking is that they're stuffy, stuck up, and arrogant. And as I've said before, that is not my experience at all. And anyone pitching that sort of story, they either don't know what they're talking about, or they're talking to the wrong bank in the first place. And that's because Swiss private banks are among the most sophisticated in the world. They offer an incredibly wide range of tailored wealth management solutions, investment strategies, tax optimization, estate planning services, and endless products and services designed with one single mission, which is to take your money and turn it into even more money. Period. That's all they do. Do they charge you fees for doing that? Yeah, of course they do. But if you're using the products and services that Swiss banks make available to you, then the fees that they charge, they should be a rounding error on your annual statement. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone should use private banks. And in fact, in most cases, and for most investment profiles, private banks are overkill, and you won't extract enough value from the relationship because you're not using them correctly. I'll be explaining all of this in terms of who should and shouldn't use private banks in the upcoming private banking video that I mentioned, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and get alerted when we publish that. Okay, switching gears here a little bit, the fourth secret that I want to share is that Swiss banks, they handle risk better than anyone. And don't confuse risk with illegal activities. I'm not talking about anything unsavory. What I'm talking about is higher risk citizenships, residencies, sources of income and wealth, and politically exposed persons, etc., etc. Basically, the kind of people that are going to struggle to open bank accounts anywhere they go. They might have a chance to bank in Switzerland. But it's not because Swiss banks are shady or they're actively trying to onboard these types of people. They're not. The reason that they can handle these risky situations better than anyone is because they're so damn good at compliance and onboarding. Whether you have a gold mine in Africa, an import-export business in Asia, or a series of complex structures to manage your wealth all around the world, I can say that with confidence that Swiss banks have almost certainly seen higher risk client profiles with even more complex structures than your accountants they could ever dream up. And that's a good thing. It means that these bankers and compliance teams are inoculated. They won't immediately hit the reject button when they see your application. And because their compliance teams are so experienced at assessing and onboarding these types of clients, it means they'll be able to do the necessary due diligence to review your profile, relationships, transaction flows, and much, much more to determine if you are a suitable client for the bank or not. Now, secret number 5 is that Swiss banks are crypto safe havens. Now, I'm not talking about all Swiss banks here, but a number of Swiss banks, they have established themselves as leaders in compliance, onboarding, products, and solutions to serve the needs of sophisticated crypto investors. Obviously, you need to be bringing in enough to make it worth their time, which will depend on a number of factors, such as citizenship, residency, plans for the account, etc., etc. But basically, you'll need to bring in between $3 million and $5 million for one of the major Swiss private banks to take you seriously. And what we're really talking about here is Swiss private banks that are willing to help you liquidate your crypto portfolio or cash out large portions of your crypto holdings. Though if you do go down that path, a portion of your balance, it is going to need to be managed by the bank through discretionary management. In fact, if you have any interest in cashing out your crypto, you should check out our recent video on cashing out millions in crypto. I'll have the team link it above for you to watch there. Okay, we have 2 more secrets left, and these ones are really important for anyone who has any interest in opening Swiss private bank accounts. So if you've made it this far in the video, you're still watching, and you want to unlock these next 2 secrets, do me a favor, give this video a like so that we know that we should keep making more content like this for you in the future. All right, so secret number 6, it's all about opening your Swiss bank account. And it's that Swiss banks, they're going to fly to you. If you're planning on opening a Swiss private bank account, chances are you have better things to do than jump on a plane to go sign some papers. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't go to Switzerland if you want to. I'm just saying that you don't have to, at least not to open a bank account. In almost all instances, you can complete the entire account opening process entirely remotely without ever getting on a plane. But that doesn't mean you won't have a chance to meet your banker in person. On the contrary, most private banks, they want to meet their clients in person. Remember, this is all about building out those long-term relationships. But in almost all cases, if you are a qualified customer, meaning you've got a qualifying deposit, your private banker will get on a plane and fly to you to meet you in person, to better understand your objectives, your banking relationship, and understand how they can better serve you. This might end up being in your home country, in another major city if you're traveling, or at a branch of the private bank in a jurisdiction that's more convenient to you. And what this really demonstrates is that Swiss private banks, they take customer experience to an entirely different level because they know it sets them apart from the standard onboarding and service that you're going to find at basically any other bank in the world. Of course, there are a few other jurisdictions that operate at this level as well, including Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, a few Monegasque banks, and certain banks in Singapore, the UAE, and Hong Kong, even Austria, though I'll be digging into these options in a future video. The point is, Swiss private banking, it offers a level of service and sophistication that you're gonna have a hard time matching in other places. And when paired with the tools that Swiss banks provide to you to make even more money, you'd think opening a Swiss private bank account would be a no-brainer. Except there's still one major hurdle you do need to overcome, and that's fees. Okay, so the final secret is that Swiss banks are open to negotiating everything. This is a big insider tip, and it could end up saving you tens of thousands of dollars if you end up opening a Swiss private bank account. So here's the headline. Private banks, they make money in many different ways by offering products, services, various solutions across investing, creative financing, lending, etc., etc. And no surprise, each of the products and services that private banks offer, they have fees associated with them. Some of these fees are direct and obvious, while others are more indirect. And if you're not careful, you'll miss some of the most costly private banking fees that can dramatically impact the cost of using private banks and how much money you can ultimately make. But like I said, everything in Swiss banking is negotiable. And I just shared a video that outlines the specific fees you need to look out for and how you can effectively negotiate to get the best deal possible. So go ahead and click that and I'll walk you through the fees, how to negotiate, and the one very important relationship that's going to help you get the lowest fees possible that everyone overlooks.